Joining me now is UFC lightweight contender who defeated Edson Barboza via fifth round TKO in the main event of UFC Fight Night 128 in Atlantic City, New Jersey this past Saturday night. It is Kevin the Motown Phenom Lee back on the program. Kevin, how are you?
What's happening? What's going on with you?
Nothing too much. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Just a few days off, of course, from what I consider the biggest win of your career. How satisfied were you with the W? I mean, fighters are so they critique themselves more than anyone else, but you can't get much better of a performance. Do you agree, or did you see some areas where you could improve?
Of course, I always see, especially immediately after I take a look at it, I'm like, man, I could have did this, I could have did that. I'm still like that. I'm still looking for spaces where I can get better, in especially in that fight. Because that's what keeps me pushing. That's what keeps me moving forward. Because I can see those holes that I can still dig or still close down. And but overall, I feel like I was at least Edson Barboza was the best guy for me to go out there and be able to showcase myself against. And I feel like I was able to show a complete game and show the new evolution of the sport. You know, other people are not as well rounded, so I make sure that I show that.
Why was Barboza the perfect opponent for this time for you in this part of your career? Is it because he comes forward, always willing to fight? I mean, what was it about Barboza that you liked so much about this matchup?
Yeah, there's that. I mean, well, hands down, he was definitely the best striker at 155. So those types of challenges just get me up. You know, he's always dangerous. I found that out firsthand. I mean, the man is explosive as they come, and every other striker or every other person in this division is a step down from his level of talent. So a guy like that who's tough he's tough as hell too. He wouldn't go away. He never gave up, never quit. And was looking for the knockout blow the whole time. I think that's all those things are just positives in the experience, because these guys better catch me as I'm young. The more experience I'm getting, the more time I'm in there, the more I'm seeing shit coming, the better I'm getting. So I'm still a couple years off from my athletic prime. Once I do, it's going to be all over for these folks.
So, I mean, you have Edson Barboza, you have Michael Chiesa, Francisco Trinaldo, Magomed Mustafayev, Jake Matthews, Efrain Escudero. Those are all the people you fought and beat since, early 2016. Do you consider this win over Barboza the biggest one, the most impressive victory of your very promising and still young career?
I've had a lot of great moments, a lot of moments that kind of, have gone viral and just that have really defined my career. This is just another one in it. The Magomed Mustafayev, I mean, that kid's one of the most explosive guys in the division. He hasn't been back yet, but once he does, he's going to crush dudes, and he's going to go out there and really be a top contender soon. Trinaldo was on the biggest win streak in the lightweight division, and I got to go down into his home territory in Brazil and stomp him. So I mean, there's a lot of great moments. It just happens over and over. But that's the name of the game. That my career is still just getting started. But this is just another chapter in the book. That's it.
Now, I don't want you to take this question the wrong way, because I know as a fighter, you always are. Although I said you as a fighter are so critical of yourself, you also think very highly of your skills, and most fighters look at themselves as I think as a fighter, you need to be so confident that you really do believe you're the best in the world. But do you look at this Barboza fight, as kind of your coming out party? I feel no one's talked about you more than they have this week.
Yeah, I mean, because the folks got to see me firsthand and got to see a little bit of everything. The Chiesa one was another one where it really would have been, but he just could not take it more than a round. Barboza could, so people got to really see my full game. But to me, I mean, I've always been, it's not really a shock to me or my team around, because they know how much work I'm putting in. They know the guys that I'm sparring with. They know how much improvement that I'm making, and I'm still doing that. And then I'm still, to me, it ain't really my coming out party for myself yet, because I'm still, I still see so many holes. I still see so much that I can improve on, that I'm never satisfied.
Do you look at this Barboza fight as basically an ideal way to let people forget about the Tony Ferguson loss back in October. Best way to rebound it. I mean, it really couldn't have gone any better. And also for you to forget about it, because fighters can't really sit on losses, or it's not the best thing to do. Was this a good way to get past that as quick as possible?
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, you again, it's experience. Every fight is different. Every camp is different, and you have to keep the ball rolling. You have to be supremely confident even when you take the fight in the first place. So it only took me, it took me a couple months to get over the Ferguson fight. I was over it before this fight started, but yeah, it does kind of add validation of what I'm doing right, especially when you talk about how many changes I made to the camp and my training methods. But again, that's just part of the evolution. That's the sport. That's the biggest thing about MMA is so young. I'm just as old as the UFC is, so I'm growing along with the sport itself. So I'm continuously trying to evolve my game, and moments like this, it is validation that I'm doing something right, but it ain't the end of the. It's just barely the beginning of the road for me, to be honest.
But especially because you were riding so much momentum going into that interim title fight back last year, 5-fight winning streak, all but one were stoppages, and now I feel like the momentum just picked up where it really left off.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the true fight fans and true people that understand the sport of it know that bouncing back from a loss like that is the most important thing. And I feel like I did that and did that in the right way and show continuous improvement. I'm still growing in this sport and still being the most. And I think that the real people, the real fans, real people that know what's really going on, they understand that and they see it and they appreciate it.
Have you felt the effects of a big main event win like this one? I mean, again, as I said earlier, I feel like this is the week nobody's talked about you more than they have this week. Have you felt that? I mean, you were on Ariel's show, of course. That's kind of normal at this point, but you also did Rogan, you did Brendan Schaub, and you were down in LA for a little bit, back in Vegas now, back home. But I mean, have you sort of felt that big win?
Yeah, I got to do a couple of TV shows while I was down in LA, ones that aren't aired yet. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot more people recognizing me around. I got some compliments of the chef a couple times here and there. Take a lot more pictures with a lot better looking people, that's for sure. But it's nice and all, but it's it is what it is. I don't let that. No, I don't let it get to me. I don't even really be bothered with it. It's fun. It's especially when I'm working, which is what I feel like I've been doing since the fight. I haven't taken a day off yet. I'm still out here making moves. Right now, I'm at a opener for a supplement line while I'm doing the interview. I'm continuously working. We making moves out here.
Kevin Lee, the multitasker of the stars. Now, you told me you told me a couple months ago, and you've mentioned it already on this interview, that you had, going into this fight against Barboza, you were changing a few things up in your training. You felt you'd be, or your game would just look a bit different. You'd be more well-rounded. Now that is all in the past, now that training camp is over, the fight is over, do you feel like you succeeded in what you went out to change and how you expected the fight would look?
Yeah, I said before that this fight was between the two most explosive athletes. It was the two best athletes in the division, and the person that won the mental side of it was gonna take over. And I feel like I've done that. Like I said, when you get like this, it is a lot more stress on you. You're doing a lot more TV shows, and you got to show up for a supplement line, and you got to do this and do that. But I did a good job. I think a much better job this time of controlling that. Especially as it gets closer to the fight and keeping my mind strong. And now, before the Tony fight, I was doing a little bit too much, and I recognize that, and too much stress on my body. But that's just what happens when you're young and you inexperienced. You don't understand it. And now I'm truly starting to understand it. So that'll be something that I take into all these camps. Like I said, these boys better catch me while I'm young, because every camp I'm just getting better in understanding myself more. So in a couple of years, I'm unstoppable.
And I think that's something to really think about. Just because you're so young, you improve more than someone who's like already in their prime, maybe past their prime even. And so fighters like you, at a young age of 25, 26, you guys are getting so much better in between, just within months. And I think sometimes that causes for a bit of a surprise because we see you in October, you're one fighter, and then by March or February or April, you're completely different.
Yeah, I mean that's the name of the game, and especially with my type of style, because I feel like I can fight any style fighter. I can fight jiu-jitsu black belts, I can fight great kickboxers, I can fight great wrestlers, because you never know what I might do. I might come out southpaw, I might be moving forward, I might be on my toes, counter striking, and I might be wrestling, I might be, I try and show a complete mix of tools and kickboxing, between boxing, between taekwondo, all these things, and you never know what you might see. Every time it's going to be a great fight, but the folks are going to see something new.
In one of the later rounds in the Barboza fight, it might have been the third, could have been the fourth, you appeared to stand with him maybe a little more than you had to because you were having so much success on the ground, but there was a couple minutes where you did, do some good work on the feet, so it didn't seem to be an issue, but I guess some people just looked at him and figured, why isn't he continuing to take him down? Was there something you wanted to prove by standing with him?
Because people were asking me before if I was just going to follow the Khabib game plan and just run him over and just dominate him on the ground. But there was that, but I wanted to show a little bit more too. Even in that third round when he hurt me with the kick, I still came back. We finished that round, the rest of the round on the feet, and the judges gave me that round. I wanted to show. Even for him, that the more I stand in there with a great kickboxer like that, the more I'm getting better at it myself. And you need to be able to do that. I need to be able to fight anybody in any style, and then I really mean that. It's not just anybody, anywhere, anytime. It's any style. It's anything that you want. I feel like I can match. So yeah, that one. I mean, even the fight itself, the fight was stopped with a left hook to the head. He came, he threw his left hook, I threw mine harder, and broke his orbital bone, and that's why the fight was stopped. It was a standing strike, not even one on the ground.
What did you make of the fact that Barboza made it to the fifth round? Should it have been stopped earlier? Eventually, the doctors did intervene. I mean, there was a bad cut on his face, plus the damage, sort of spoke for itself, but could it have been stopped earlier?
Yeah, I think 100%. I think it could have probably been stopped somewhere along the second round. When he's taking that much damage, just flatline him. Took my eyes off for a second, and he made me do the chicken dance. But I got right back on it and finished the fight, and ended up just knocking him out, standing up.
And sometimes doctor stoppages for fighters that are winning can be a little anticlimactic, but I imagine in this case it wasn't. It was maybe almost a relief, just because I know you told Ariel Helwani that you like Edson Barboza.
Yeah, he cool. I didn't want to, this is the job, this is what we got to do. But at the same time, I think that's on his cornerman. His cornerman didn't do him no favors. The man probably should have been out of there a little bit earlier and saved the rest of his career, because he's going to come back and he's going to starch guys. He's going to be so much more better after this fight. He's only 32. He's got a long career ahead of him still. So his corner just didn't do him no favors.
How hurt were you when Barboza did land that kick?
Oh yeah, I'm still hurting from it. It hurt like it's a little tender spot, but it hurt pretty bad. But again, champ can adjust. So I feel like I had to show it all, and pushing through adversity and getting hit with a shot like that is just part along with being a well-rounded fighter.
And also the fact that you went to the takedown so quickly, I think that also shows off your fight IQ as well. I mean, some fighters in that situation rocked like that. They would just panic and eventually sort of just crumble under the pressure and get stopped with strikes. But in your case, I mean, do you agree? Do you feel like that really does show off your IQ, that you were able to, know what was going on, know that you weren't, in 100% right at that moment, and you went to the takedown?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, there's so much that go into it. It's IQ, it's experience, it's understanding of where you at in a round and a time and in space. That goes along with being a very well-rounded fighter, and that's what I'm on my way to becoming.
Now, as far as the weight cut goes, I do got to mention it. I mean, you've answered questions already as far as what exactly went wrong. From the sounds of it, you basically just ran out of time, maybe miscalculated it a little bit. But as far as going forward, I know you've been a guy who's talked about the 165-pound division quite a bit. Do you feel confident that for the foreseeable future, you can continue to make 155 with not too many problems, or not, I mean, enough problems to make it, I guess, a problem?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I'm staying at 155. You know, that this is my division. This is the best division in the UFC, and it's where the biggest fights are. And you know, and I can still make the weight. Like you said, this last one was just a mistiming thing. You know, I mean, I don't put it on nobody else. I'm not the type of dude that makes excuses. And you know. But real fighters really understand what I'm saying when I say it's a timing issue. You know, when they don't let me down to use the sauna for 40 minutes, you know, that's a lot of time for me that I could be cutting. You know, when they don't give me that extra hour that I would have in other commissions, you know, that's a lot of time. I mean, it's so many factors that go into it. You know, and again, this is my first time ever missing weight. You know, I've never pulled out of a fight. I always show up when I'm supposed to. I mean, it's you know, it's a lot of things that go into it. So for people that say that, I mean, people gonna hate regardless. It was so many people that wanted me to lose this fight. Everybody wanted me to lose that fight. So you know, they're gonna find reasons to hate. But I'm gonna keep pushing forward. As far as the 165-pound division, I mean, there's a reason why the Athletic Commission has approved it. You know, it's for our health and safety. You know, all of us at 155. You know, Eddie can't take a fight because he's walking around at 190. You know, Paul Felder, a couple minutes before I stepped on the scale, he steps on the scale, he's 190. You know, all these guys. And Edson, I mean, Edson's just as big as me. I mean, he's walking around 190, 195. You know, Khabib's has documented kidney failure and still is trying to make it 155 from 190. You know, it should be a health and safety thing more so than I'm trying to look for a new division or however it is. It's you know, something's got to happen. They're just, you know, they're waiting on me to die. You know what I mean? So it's, you know, I'm just pushing for it because that's what needs to be done.
Do you think the UFC will introduce it? I know Dana White has said in the past couple months that he's not too interested, but things can change. Just because Dana says it doesn't mean it'll never come true or be introduced. Do you think they will? I mean, it's so hard to say. It's kind of just speculation, but gut feeling, do you think we see 165 sometime soon?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's bound to happen. It's already been approved. They're just, you know, we're just waiting on logistics. In the meantime, I'm gonna still go out there and I'm gonna still do my job and make weight and whoop ass.
Now, this is completely my opinion, but I feel like with you coming off the biggest win of your career, you a big lightweight, you very well suited to the 165-pound division, I think the time is now to bring it in because they can sort of build the division around you. Maybe put you in for the undisputed or the inaugural title against someone else who's a big lightweight or a small welterweight. What do you make of that? Would you like to see that play out? Do you sort of, I don't know, the division being 100% built around you?
I mean, they've already got these bullshit interim titles going on at 170. You know, they can go ahead and, you know, after this interim title fight, scrap it, make a 175-pound division, the champ versus Tyron Woodley at 175, and then they go ahead and make a 65. You know, I don't really see. There's already 3-4 titles floating around that area anyway. Why not just add an extra weight class and just crown someone else the champion? I mean, that's basically what they're doing when they crown this interim champion versus Dos Anjos, who has competed at 155 before, and Kobe Covington. You know, they're making another title in this same weight division. So, I mean, instead of just having 3 random titles, why not just have 3 weight classes with 3 rightful champions?
No, I agree. I think they should bring it in. I'm not confident it will, just because, I mean, you know, Dana White is ultimately the boss, and if he really doesn't want it, he probably can do anything it takes for it not to be introduced to the UFC. But I really do hope it happens because I think it would benefit pretty much everybody, including the UFC. But nonetheless, for now, 165 isn't a division in the UFC. We got 155 and then 170. As far as the lightweight title picture, you are the closest you've been to a title shot ever in your career. We have, of course, the champ Khabib. He's out till basically the end of the year. You also have Ferguson, McGregor. Not really too sure what their timeline is. And then we have you, Dustin Poirier, Eddie Alvarez, all sort of wanting that title shot. How do you see this playing out? I know, again, it's kind of speculation. No one really knows what will happen. But what do you make of this kind of a mess at the top of the division?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's a mess. We're gonna see how this whole thing plays out. There's a lot of options for me, a lot of great fights. I don't know. We're gonna see. I mean, the rifle fight is Khabib, but I'm gonna see how this whole thing plays out before I really make a prediction. Really.
Would you be surprised if you do get that title shot, or do you think more realistically you'll be fighting someone like a Poirier or an Alvarez?
I mean, no, of course there will be no surprise. I mean, that would be the rightful thing to be had. But we're gonna see. I mean, Eddie's walking around there looking like a meatball. I might roll him down a set of octagon stairs. You never know.
Fair enough. As far as the immediate future, before your next fight, what is the plan? Just to train, get better, relax? What's sort of going on in the life of Kevin Lee for the next few weeks?
We just getting better. That's it. I'm steady improving. I'm already back in Vegas, already back to work. I'm gonna be in the gym. You know, I got a couple travel dates set already that I got to make, but it's work time, baby.
As far as when you'd like to fight it again, you took very little damage against Barboza. Of course, the one big shot in the third round, but that's really it. When do you want to get back in there?
November. I'm thinking if they're already doing. Could be even in November is talking about. I don't know. We're gonna see. We're gonna see how this whole thing. Like I said, we'll see how the whole thing shakes out. We'll see what's going on with Conor because I think that's the big X factor. And then I'm gonna get in where I fit in and squeeze where I rightfully should be.
Last thing for you, Kevin, before I let you go. Because you did fight on Saturday, I'm sure you weren't paying too much attention to this when it was all going down, but did you hear much about what happened with Leslie Smith, that whole situation? Aspen Ladd misses weight. Leslie Smith wants to negotiate a new contract. The UFC says no, pays her all her money, and then she's a free agent. Did you hear much about that? Did you read anything?
Yeah. I mean, I know Leslie. She came and she explained the whole situation to me. I mean, that's a weird one. That's a funky one. I don't know. I'm keeping my nose up out of that one. I'm good.
Fair enough. Kevin, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it as always. Great catching up with you, and congratulations once again on the big win over Barboza this past Saturday. Before I let you go, remind my audience, if they're not already following you, where they can follow you on social media, and any thank yous for sponsors, your family, anyone else. The floor is yours.
At Motown Phenom, they know it, especially on Instagram. Thank you, my man.